afternoon, one and everyone present here. On behalf of the PG Department of English, Bakura Christian College, I, Subarna Chatterjee, undergraduate honors semester 4 student of the department, welcome you all to the 12th day of the International Web Lecture Series, hosted by Department of English, Bakura Christian College. Warm greetings and welcome to the dignitaries, faculty members, research scholars, students, and all the participants present on the virtual platform, either the Google Meet forum or over YouTube. We are very much honored to have among us today an eminent speaker, Dr. Antara Mukherjee ma'am, Assistant Professor of English, Government Girls General Degree College, Ekbalpur, Kolkata. A warm welcome note for her. Before I request Dr. Antara Mukherjee ma'am to go ahead with her deliberation, may I request Dr. Narugopal Mukherjee sir, Reader, Department of English, Bakura Christian College, to formally introduce Dr. Antara Mukherjee ma'am. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Subarna, for giving me this opportunity of introducing yet another great scholar and great teacher of English literature and language, Dr. Antara Mukherjee, whom I consider as my younger sister. And it has been my privilege, my honor also to introduce such an avid scholar, such an erudite scholar to all of you. Dr. Antara Mukherjee is an assistant professor of English in West Bengal Educational Services at the Department of English, Government Girls General Degree College, Kolkata. She has been teaching for more than 14 years to undergraduate students. She has been guest faculty in Postgraduates Department of English, MUC Women's College, Burdwan, also the University of Burdwan and Lady Brabourne College, Kolkata. She has been invited by various colleges, universities, research institutes like National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore, and Mysore School of Architecture, Mysore, British Council, Kolkata, and Bonjour India festival conducted by the French Embassy. These are some amongst others for delivering talks on different topics. Her doctoral dissertation was on the plays of Edward Bond entitled Critiquing the Center, the Otherness of Edward Bond. She harbors an avid interest in post-war British studies, culture studies, literary theory, and the European settlements along the banks of Hooghly River. She has been actively engaged in attending workshops, chairing sessions, moderating panel discussions, apart from presenting and publishing at various national and international seminars and journals, respectively. She is a member of the Board of Reviewers of an open access, peer-reviewed international journal, Post-Colonial Intervention and Interdisciplinary Journal of Post-Colonial Studies. Since January 2016, she has been leading a team of scholars in West Bengal who are collecting and commenting on Bengali texts and previously unpublished archive material which refer to the French presence in the settlements in Hooghly district. Along with her students, she has published 3 comprehensive articles, 2 photo essays, and 1 preface in Books in Bengali section of French books on India, WordPress.com. She has also guided scholars of the region in their research work and publication on this open access multilingual discovery tool with book and data from 1531 to 2016 and e-books before 1939. She has co-edited a book entitled Chandannagar Myriad Perspectives in 2016 along with Bhaswati Ghosh and Abhijit Dotto for her first place of service, Chandannagar Government College. In 2018, she edited another book, Chandannagar Mon Amour, The Citadel of the Moon, published by the University of Liverpool, to make the students aware of the rich culture and history of their town and neighborhood. She has been the external reader of dissertations on generating community involvement in build heritage conservation, Central European University, Hungary, in 2019. She has recently completed her stint as lead honorary researcher in the AHRC ICHR funded Hooghly River of Cultures pilot project jointly led by the University of Liverpool, UK and the IIT Kharagpur, India. She is presently working as an honorary research head of Implementation Action Team, IAT, a project approved by Arts and Humanities Research Council, UK, to make impactful changes to the heritage of the Hooghly riverside towns. She has been a part of a framing policy document as regards management and strategies of Hooghly heritages for Government of West Bengal in 2020. She is also the executive producer of an impact film entitled Reverberations, Voices from the Riverfront, and has been the head of creative liaison of a docudrama named Samoyita, documenting the intangible cultural heritage Jagadhatri Puja. Neither a film scholar nor a film critic, she is curious about movies and loves to look at films from her peculiar lenses. And fortunately enough, she will be talking on a movie today, adaptation of Macbeth by Vishal Bharadwaja Makbul. I would now like to request Dr. Antara Mukherjee to start her deliberation, please. Antara, please. Thank you.
Am I audible and visible both, Naruda?
Yeah, perfectly, as you are.
Okay. Thank you very much for those kind words. I don't know whether I deserve all that you said, but certainly what I want to say at the very beginning is nothing is more satisfying for a teacher than to see students doing exceptionally well in their life. And through this virtual platform, I convey my pride in Oyun, my student, now my colleague, and currently the head of department at the Bakura Christian College. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to the principal of Bakura Christian College, to you, Naruda, and to other faculty members at the Department of English for providing me a scope to rub off my rust. I would like to thank, and perhaps if I don't, then it would be a great mistake on my part if I don't thank my officer in charge, Dr. Al-Khatib, who is a great Persian scholar. And since I was dealing with Makbul and I had to, go into the nuances of the language, Urdu, and I don't have that much command in Urdu. So she helped me a lot. And also Dr. Rita Chatterjee, who is a renowned scholar in her own studies. And also the viewers who have joined me at in this platform in Google Meet as well as in YouTube. To listen somebody, as I have said, who is not a quote unquote a film scholar, but would like to share with all of you some of my rudimentary thoughts on I must say that I am not looking into Shakespeare convergences and divergences, but still I am talking about Makbul. And on a very personal note, what has triggered me to look at Makbul 17 years after its release is a chance encounter with Vishal Bharadwaj's latest screenplay, written on the Teravi or the 13th day of Irfan Khan's demise, May 12, 2020, entitled Irfan and I. In a moment of personal crisis, Vishal Bharadwaj articulates the grappling darkness as he comes to terms with the loss of his Makbul forever. He says, "A bomb explodes in my heart." One wonders, is it only Vishal Bharadwaj's cry? Is he not lending voice to countless admirers silently mourning for the deceased actor in their quarantine state? This mourning, then, is a climactic moment when personal grief transcends into a general saga of mourning, an enlightened moment of realization of human powerlessness over human mortality. Irfan has certainly not gone gently into the dark night, yet he could not escape the dying light. Bharadwaj's screenplay, therefore, upholds a fundamental crisis of the human soul. It surprised me that as a master tragedian inspired by Shakespeare, this screenplay of fundamental crisis is marked by a conspicuous absence of Shakespeare. It was disturbing to note that while Bharadwaj mentions sequences from Makbul, while he talks about Heather, he refuses to write even the word Shakespeare. This was the much needed creative trigger for me to revisit Makbul and to begin an exploration of Vishal's dynamics with Shakespeare. I was very curious to map the raw state of Vishal's psyche during the gestation of Makbul. This led me to posit the film in his milieu, only to discover that Shakespeare entered his life by chance at a time when he was artistically struggling to crystallize his vision. What made me all the more curious is his declaration after drawing heavily from Shakespeare's story, and I have given that as my title. Makbul is not meant for Shakespearean scholars. This is Bharadwaj's declaration, or I can say a disclaimer. To God for whom the movie was made, I contextualized Makbul and realized that the movie is a well-researched documentation on the nexus between underworld and Bollywood, through which Vishal Bharadwaj seeks to project his vision of a multicultural, cosmopolitan social plane that would rise above religious complications. Without going into a detailed analysis of Shakespearean convergences and divergences in Makbul, I choose to begin my reinvestigation with the narrative strategy of Vishal Bharadwaj. As a filmmaker, Bharadwaj has followed what Charles Marowitz has called the quantum leap approach to Shakespeare. In his book, Recycling Shakespeare, published 1991, Charles Morowitz identifies three approaches to filming Shakespeare: the fundamentalist approach, the reform approach, and the quantum leap approach. Firstly, fundamentalist approach is an approach when a director clings to exactly what the author has written, discovers more complex sheds of meaning than his predecessor, and end up rendering services to the author. By adapting this approach, the director re-establishes the supremacy of the work, as Morowitz feels, and he has nothing new to add to his venture. And he also believes that most of the Royal Shakespeare Company productions fall into this category. Next, the reform approach. Here, the director incorporates his own ideas into the original text to produce an enthralling, alienating effect, so much so that the people are prepared to forgive the liberties he has taken to achieve it. One understands that by this approach, a director tries to cash in on the ignorance of the audience by stunt and gimmick. However, some changes are mandatory to suit the cinematic essentials, and Margaret Jane Pitney, in her seminal work, which is published a few years after Recycling Shakespeare in 2009, known as Shakespeare and the Problem of Adaptation, she contends, and I quote her, cultural, geographical, or ideological differences between work and adaptation are rooted in a perceived temporal gap between work and adaptation, enabled by an idea of the work not as a process, but as something readily identifiable, instead as an object. This makes it prominent that certain differences are unavoidable and that adaptations do lead to certain problems. Actually, when we are adapting a text for a film, it is shortened, right, to address the issues of time and place. And this shortening may lead to certain quality compromise. Naturally, all the film versions of Shakespeare plays are not classic. Now, what Vishal Bhardwaj does is he takes an idea inspired by the text, but not necessarily verifiable in relation to it, creates a work of art that intellectually relocates the original play and bears the faintest resemblance to its progenitor. This type is known as, or is called by Marvin, as the quantum leap approach to Shakespeare. And the quantum leap approach is a narrative strategy. It gives a filmmaker a much desired creative space to produce a whole new product while being inspired by the source text. Now, since I shall be dealing with an Indian popular film, I must mention Poonam Trivedi, who has been seminal in this field, and one of her essays, Filmy Shakespeare, where she contends that the attitude of Indian filmmaker in deconstructing Shakespeare since the 1990s is one of, and I quote her, irreverence shown towards the globalized bird as if to bounce on concerns of his work and play around with them. Unquote. Now, this view has to be taken with a pinch of salt, I feel, for deconstructive mode of representation is or did not happen in one fine day. It is not a one fine day event. It is an outcome of an evolutionary process of filming Shakespeare in Bombay film industry. Incidentally, and this is for the students whom I am catering to, Parsi theatre, which flourished during the period 1870 to 1940, was the main agency through which Shakespeare's plays entered the world of Bombay cinema. And if you want to know more about the Parsi theatre, you can read Somnath Gupta's book, The Parsi Theatre, its Origin and Development, which has been published in a translated form by the Seagull Books in 2005, where Somnath Gupta explains that the phrase Parsi theatre signifies playhouses built and operated by the Parsi community, along with Parsi playwrights, Parsi dramas, Parsi stage, theatrical companies, actors, directors, and so on. But they also included non-Parsi playwrights and actors who worked on a salaried basis. Now, for the Parsis, Shakespeare, as Rajiv Verma in the article Shakespeare in Hindi Cinema, published 2006, opines that Shakespeare is not a cultural icon, but a resource to them to be exploited for characters and situations, often without acknowledgement. No matter how they adapted, but the fact is that from the 1920s onward, we see popular adaptation of Parsi theatre as movies in Bombay cinema. One or two names for the students: Dil Farosh, 1927, which is based on the popular stage adaptation of The Merchant of Venice; Khooni Nahak, 1928, based on Hamlet; Meetha Zahar, 1930, based on Cymbeline. These plays, they were all made by the stalwarts of Parsi theatres like Mehdi Hasan Ehsan, Naren Prasad Betab, etc. Now, when we come to the talkies of the 30s and 40s, why talkies? Because in 1931, with the release of the film Alam Ara, sound was introduced for the first time. And by the time we come to 1935, playback singing, became one of the seminal part of the Hindi film industry. So during the talkies and the 30s and 40s, we see several Urdu renditions of Shakespeare's plays popular on stage and adapted for the screen. Thus, in the 30s and 40s, we have films like Khoon Ka Khoon, adapted from Hamlet, 1935, Saide-Havas, 1936, which is adapted partly from Richard III and King John, Zan Murid, 1936, Antony and Cleopatra, and so on, to name a few, let us say. So the first phase of filming Shakespeare was a phase of faithful translation and performance. And, these plays were considered as popular travesties, and they were, like an embarrassment, as Poonam Trivedi feels, for the academicians. But this phase was followed by the second stage of creative assimilation to transform Shakespeare and to relocate him within the Indian context. Let us say from the 50s till the 80s, early part of 90s before the neoliberalization. So I can, if you want me to name one of the movies, it's very difficult because some of the movies are adapting Shakespearean motifs, some dialogue, some sequences. But still, Gulzar's Angur, 1982, and Debu Sen's Doduni Chad, 1968 are prominent examples. Again, I'm not going into the regional industries, Bengali film industry or the Kannada, because I want to come straight now to mainstream Bollywood. So with the advent of satellite television in 1992, in the neoliberal era, the market became very, very important after the satellite television came. The market for Indian films widened. Bollywood came to be recognized, as a formidable industry whose products and accessories were made available or were channelized through the satellite television. And by product and accessories, I mean film industry news, gossips, stage shows, award shows, where they are going, where the stars are wearing, what they are eating, and etc. So suddenly, filmmakers realized the potential of Indian films as cultural products having a huge, let us say, profit-making possibilities and wide viewership globally. In such an ambience, box office success, let me say, became a major concern for the filmmakers who left no stone unturned to ensure the same. So, what started in the Hindi film was a tendency to mix the genres, a literal mixture of spices, okay, the masala with multi-star cast. I will come to the masalas a little bit later, but all I want to say is mid 90s, when these changes were happening in Bollywood, our director, Vishal Bharadwaj, was not directing. He was actually composing music for films like Marches and Satya and all. So he was as if raised as a child in the film industry and was a witness to the changes that were happening. So when he thought of adapting Shakespeare, we really have to consider whether he was showing a sort of an irreverence, or whether he was playing around, or he had some genuine other purpose. If quantum leap approach is what Vishal Bharadwaj has followed, and that we will see shortly, then I feel that it was a deliberate stance to document a neoliberal Bollywood preoccupied with box office success, masala movies, and mafia domination. In 2002, just after the release of Mukherjee, when Bharadwaj was looking for a story of violence, a story of a gangster set in Bombay, and he was traveling on a train from Dehradun to Delhi in 2002, as I said, he was getting bored and he borrowed a book from his fellow traveler and he started reading it. And what was that book? The book was Tales from Shakespeare by Charles and Mary Lamb. And he read all the 20 stories that have been enlisted there. Before that, Vishal has not read or heard, and I quote Asim Chabra. This is the book written by Asim Chabra. It's a fantastic book on Irfan Khan, the man, the dreamer, and the star. And in this book, Asim Chabra has beautifully captured this phase before Maqbool began. And he notes that Vishal has not read or heard any of Shakespearean plays before that. However, Vishal did read Merchant of Venice at school, but he forgot about it. He didn't remember anything about it. But now, when he read Charles and Mary Lamb's interpretation or abridged version of Shakespeare, he was actually surprised. And in an interview to Seema Chisti at the Express Adda in Delhi, Vishal says, and I quote Vishal, the first story I read was Macbeth, and it was so good. मेरे होश उड़ गए कि ये किस तरह की कहानी है. Now, this expression, it is an expression after reading not Shakespeare but Charles Lamb's and Mary Lamb's version. Of course, he did read Shakespeare's Macbeth while writing the screenplay with Abbas Tayarwala. But during the book launch of Maqbool, he came out with 3 books of his 3 trilogies. And during the book launch of Maqbool, he said that adapting from Shakespeare did not give him any extra edge because the financiers were not ready to finance the movie that has literature in it. And I quote Vishal when he says that he was told by a celebrity financier to remove the line based on Shakespeare's Macbeth from the screenplay because nobody is interested in Shakespeare and none would finance if literature is there because literature is boring. This attitude of the late 90s and early 2000s Bollywood towards Shakespeare might shock us, especially us, we who are enamored with Shakespeare. But, truth is stranger than fiction. Though Vishal did not remove the acknowledgement line from the screenplay, and in this he differentiated himself from the Parsi adapters because they often adapted Shakespeare without acknowledging, but he seems extremely guarded after the release, or let us say after the premiere of Maqbool at the Toronto International Film Festival in September 2003. After the press meet, he suddenly realized what a big name William Shakespeare is. And if you are feeling shocked at this realization, you can see the entire interview of Vishal Bharadwaj in your YouTube. It's Tete-a-Tete with Vishal Bharadwaj. Where he has candidly admitted that before that, he never realized what he was dealing, with whom he was dealing actually. And so when he was interviewed by Arthur J. Paris on 6th of November, this is, International Film Festival was in September, and this is 6th of November 2003, Vishal gave this famous disclaimer that Maqbool is not meant for Shakespearean scholars. This enigmatic statement excites the curiosities of academicians, scholars, students, but we are always trying to find Shakespearean legacies in Maqbool. But this disclaimer is actually an open invitation, okay, to all the viewers who would not be under any burden of having a prior knowledge of Shakespeare. He repeated this a few months later in an interview that he gives to Vijay Singh on 29th January 2004, a day before Maqbool released in India, and he declared that it is a loose adaptation of the play. One can feel the nervousness of a director, more or less new in the business. Mukherjee did not do that well at the box office, and desperately looking for a big break at the box office. He was careful enough, I think, to map the psyche of the audience, most of whom may harbor a similar mindset like the financiers in Bollywood, and thereby might shy away from watching the film. And since it is the audience's thumbs up which finally decide the fate of the movie and of the director, his disclaimer was perhaps a well thought of strategy to reach out to a larger global audience whose viewership determines the box office. And he tells Vijay Singh that box office, I quote Vishal, is very, very important. Once the film becomes hit at the box office, you get the money to produce and direct your next film. So neoliberalization, importance of market, uh, wide viewership and box offices, all these things, I guess, played at the back of his mind, and he didn't actually realize that with whom he was dealing and with what he was dealing. Surprisingly, after having achieved his strong foothold on the industry now, and especially after completing his trilogy of tragedy, Bharadwaj in Irfan and I recalls shooting scenes from Maqbool. He even recalls going to the International Film Festival at Marrakech. He talked about the airport, the staff. He talked about editing, Irfan Khan. Scenes from Maqbool, he talked about everything except Shakespeare. I was very shocked, I must say, that why is he not talking about Shakespeare now? Okay. And then I probed on the two scenes that he has dealt deeply and in an elaborate way in his latest screenplay. First scene is that when Nimmi asks Maqbool, Hamara ishq to paak tha na miyan? And secondly, when Maqbool looks through the hospital window as Guddu and Samira embrace Maqbool's newborn baby in their protective arms. These two scenes, recalled from the movie, I slowly realized are the crux of the movie. First one sums up the maker's purpose to make a movie on underworld and Bollywood, especially on the extortion of heroines. I will come to this. And secondly, the second scene projects Vishal Bharadwaj's vision of exploring possibilities of tolerant coexistence in a world driven by terrorist attacks, riots, and blood. Thus, while acknowledging Shakespearean source for his idea, I think he did not feel any urge to mention Shakespeare either in the post-production phase or after 17 years of its release. Hence, uh, it became necessary for me to look at Makbul from another lens as a masala movie with mafia domination, and I will be sharing my rudimentary thoughts with you. Now, star-studded cast or the multi-star factor being the prerequisite of a masala movie, Makbul, if you look closely, then it consists of galaxy. Pankaj Kapoor, Nasiruddin Shah, Om Puri, Tabu, Irfan Khan, Piyush Mishra in one single frame. If this is not a galaxy, then what is a galaxy? This star-studded cast was well complemented by the ingredients of a masala movie. In their book, The Bollywood Reader, published 2008, Jigna Desai and Rajinder Kumar Dudra highlight, and I quote them, in masalas, one can see big city underworld crime, martial arts, fight sequences with exaggerated hitting noises, dhishum dhishum, car stunts, sexy cabaret, elaborate dance sequence with dozens of extras, comedy, romance, and family drama, everything designed to give a maximum impact. Now, Makbul has Dishum Dishum, as you know, from the beginning to the end. Inter-gang and intra-gang sequence of car chases are found in galore. Sizzling dance sequence by a popular Bollywood actress, Miss Mohini, during the Sangeet of Samira is a variation of the sexy cabaret, which is beautifully juxtaposed with the melodious Ginny Minnie Ginny wedding song, where the two actresses, dance with dozens of extras. And comic relief by the cop, outstanding in many occasions. Like there is a scene when the two are urinating, and suddenly there is a competition as to who can piss higher. All these are juxtaposed with the romantic saga of Makbul and Nimmi, and finally the melodramatic withdrawal of Makbul from Samira and Guddu's life. Thus, Vishal incorporated all the necessary ingredients of masalas in Makbul. In Bollywood, a guidebook to popular Hindi cinema, this is by T. Ganti and published 2004, T. Ganti has noted that one of the reasons why they have become so popular is because they portray the lives of every man and woman in today's fast-changing world. Now, the first fast-changing world of the 90s Bollywood, which Vishal was a witness to, is primarily noted in having an intimate relationship with the Indian underworld. The origin of the nectar could be traced to a government resolution that rendered the cinema industry completely ineligible for legitimate forms of financing prior to neoliberalization. And I was reading an autobiography of Rishi Kapoor. If you see this, Kullam Kulla, this was published in 2017. And here Rishi Kapoor has recalled Mumbai's Matta King. He has recalled many things, but he has recalled Mumbai's Matta King, Ratan Khatri, who was the producer of Rangila Ratan, 1976, with himself and Parveen Bobby in the lead role and Ashok Kumar in the supporting role. He also recalls going to Dawood Ibrahim's house in Dubai in 1988. And I quote a short passage from the book. This is Rishi Kapoor. I had landed in Dubai with my closest friend Bittu Anand for an Asha Bhosle R.D. Burman night. When I was leaving the airport, a stranger walked up to me and handed me a phone. He said, Dawood saab baat karenge. Dawood welcomed me to Dubai and said, if there is anything you need, just let me know. He also invited me to his house. I remember feeling rather fearful when I first arrived there. But as the evening progressed, my anxiety melted and I relaxed. This is page 172 of Kullam Kulla or the Uncensored. So government, they did not allow bank credits to producers. underworld continued to finance films, distribute films, and most importantly, host parties. Rishi Kapoor also recalls Dawood's brother Noora, who welcomed the entire team of Hina in 1991. So this is uh, just when neoliberalization was happening. And in Dubai, they had a grand party. So Bollywood celebrities, why only Rishi Kapoor, many others, but I'm not going into the detail because my time is very short. They routinely attended lavish parties, well publicized around the world. After neoliberalization, Government of India not only conferred industry status to the entertainment industry, including films, but by the turn of the millennium, also amended the law in 2001 to allow film industry to qualify for bank credit. If you go to the archive of Reserve Bank of India, you will see that there is a notification number ECD 17/8 December 2001, where you would see this entire order stated by the Government of India. Now, this was a significant step because film producers and directors, prior to this amendment of the law, they were forced to find other sources for, to make their movies, and they often, went to these suspicious sources with strong links to the criminal organization. Two events in the 1990s, let us say in the mid 1990s, exposed the flip side of this connection. Number one, the jeopardizing of Sanjay Dutt's career and peace in 1994, and the killing of Gulshan Kumar, the music maestro, as you know, in the broad daylight of 1997. Ronak D. Desai, in his article, Bollywood's Affair with the Indian Mafia, points out how underworld bosses like Dawood Ibrahim, and I quote Desai, and Abu Salem celebrated with Bollywood's most distinguished members one day and extorted them the next day. So Rakesh Roshan in 2001, we know, nearly escaped assassination because he refused to sell the overseas rights of Kaho Na Pyar Hai to one of India's leading criminal organizations. Hrithik Roshan asked for police protection. And in 2001, Makbul is 2003, okay? So in 2001, the producer of Chori Chori Chupke Chupke, Nazim Rizvi, and his assistant were sentenced to 6 years in prison for working with the underworld, and the charge was that they were extorting from the film industry, right? And Nazim Rizvi was called as the Chota Shakil man. So apart from financial extortion, which was there was another subtler forms of extortion. And I guess Vishal Bharadwaj has focused on that maximum in Makbul, that is the physical and the emotional extortion of the heroine in the 90s Bollywood. This trend was started not in the 90s, but in the 80s, let us say, 70s and 80s, by Mirza Mastan, who was known as the Hazi Mastan, who was the mafia gang leader in Bombay from 60s to 80s with Karim Laha and others. He married an aspiring actress, Sona, simply because she resembled Madhubala, and Madhubala was the heartthrob of Mirza Mastan. Then in 1995, we find the killing of Javed Siddiqui because he refused to cast Anita Ayub, the Pakistani actress who had a brief stint in Bollywood, and he refused to cast her. Then, of course, we know that Anita Ayub was Dawood Ibrahim's favorite after Mandakini. We also know about the affairs and the elopement of Monica Bedi with Abu Saler and of Mamta Kulkarni with Vikram Goswami. So, filmmakers, they encashed on the mafia links and its related events as source of interesting storylines to make their films. And actresses continued to charm the gangsters and chose to stay with them at times outside the bounds of matrimony. Okay, Mahesh Manjrekar's Vastav 1995 was based on Chota Rajan's life, as you know. And Ram Gopal Verma understood the pull of the story and delivered some of the best movies in between 1990, after 1995 and before the release of Makbul. So what I want to stress is that the law was amended in 2001, but the root of relationship between underworld and Bollywood had gone quite deep by that time. Now, as someone who is impressed by movies like The Godfather, The Throne of Blood, and is also aware of this nexus between Bollywood and underworld, Bharadwaj chose to incorporate the mafia masala in his movie and zoomed his camera initially on a place that is enveloped by underworld mafias and its rising complications, Mumbai. No wonder Makbul begins with two cops serving Mumbai police, government servants, and yet guarding the prisoner of the underworld, not from the underworld, and thus helping the Don in his illegal activity. Interestingly, the cops, they look at the horoscope of Mumbai and not of Makbul. The locus standi of the film is stressed at the very outset, and not only that, the characters are situated against a clearly identifiable background, and Mumbai, as the powerhouse of crime syndicate, is also stressed. This is brilliantly emphasized by Abbaji when he says, Mumbai हमारी महबूबा है मियाँ, इन्हें छोड़कर हम कराची या दुबई में नहीं बस सकते. So crime syndicate in Mumbai is always thirsty for the blood, be it politics, law, real estate, illegal sea trade. Underworld of Mumbai has laid its icy hands on everything. Here, elections are determined by underworld support because they finance campaigns. One remembers Nasiruddin's character, Inspector Purohit, narrating for the audience that जिस पार्टी के साथ अब्बा जी हाथ मिला ले, वो कभी elections नहीं हारते. So he seems to, echo Dawood Ibrahim as he told to Rishi Kapoor, and that is there in the book, that I pay several politicians who are in my pocket. So we see political leaders in Makbul like Bhosle and Palekar visit Abbaji now and then. Business deals, interestingly, are sea-centric. The shadows of innumerable illegal sea trades, be it of Haji Mastan's powerful smuggling syndicate in Mumbai along the Gujarat coast, or Dawood Ibrahim's dealings to the waters, whatever it may be, they loom large over the business deal of 30 crore in Makbul. In fact, when asked by Makbul whether he would sail through the water or would be drowned by them, मैं डूबूंगा कि बचूंगा, Pandit tells Makbul that he will only die if he is washed by the waters. Indeed, Makbul explains his precarious condition to the nurse in the hospital that he is taking Nimmi along with him for Darya Ghusaya hai mere ghar mein. So Darya refers to the saline water of the sea, powerful enough to wind up his existence. As a shipload of drug is caught by Mumbai customs, we see how aag ke liye pani ka dar comes true. Again, taking cue from real life turnabout of Haji Mastan, and Vishal Bharadwaj has met Haji Mastan in his life. It's there in the interview with Tita K, and he was enamored by Haji Mastan. Okay, Haji Mastan, when he stopped underworld activities, he turned a producer. He ventured into film. We see Vishal sketching Abbaji as an aged don, taking deep interest in Bollywood, and a remarkable compliment is paid to the actor Abbaji by Nasiruddin's character when he says to Makbul, "बच के दिलीप कुमार, अंडरवर्ल्ड में ना होते तो फिल्म स्टार होते, क्या एक्टर है अब्बाजी." So, drawn by the lucrative activities of Bollywood, he monitors the film industry through Asif, his brother-in-law. And not only names of big directors from Bollywood are dropped as they are at his beak and call, but busy heroine like Miss Mohini is visited on the shoe for Hafta Vasuli or extortion, and is also summoned for a private performance. Thus, Vishal Bharadwaj binds mafia, movies, and Mumbai into a triangular relationship, giving the mafia an edge over the two. As the blood of a goon spills over the horoscope of Mumbai with Inspector Pandit uttering, देख के मारा करो यार, सारी मुंबई खून से भरती. We as audience brace ourselves for a tale of an aspiring actress forced to cohabit with a gangster, takes a drastic step out of existential insecurities, and finally succumbs to passion. The action in Makbul gains pace only after Asif, Abbaji's brother-in-law, is killed, and the single most thought that continues to plague Abbaji's associate is, film industry ka kya hoega? Kaun dekhega abhi? This question stresses on the necessity of an immediate successor of Asif to monitor the industry, as Abbaji hands over the mantle to a confused-looking Makbul uttering, "Mujhse ye nahi hoga. Kya sambhalunga main film industry?" He explains to Makbul the gravity of the charge. Abbu ka naam sambhal lo beta. So Makbul is clearly told to restore the lost glory of Abbaji, malhandled by the manipulative Asif. No wonder he chooses his most trusted lieutenant with the responsibility. So I feel that this round table is a significant moment, for this sets the stage for Makbul's takeover of Abbaji, his Gaddi. Now, originally a Hindi root word, but used rampantly in Urdu, Gaddi has multi-layered signifiers. And I'm indebted again to my officer in charge, Dr. Altadri, for supplying me with an Urdu to Hindi dictionary, English dictionary, 2016 edition, where I found out that the word Gaddi is used as a padded seat, a royal throne, a bedding, a pissery, and etc. So, throbbing romance between Makbul and Nimmi being central to the movie, Bharadwaj makes Nimmi the literal bedding and the metaphorical throne of Abbaji, thereby his most prized and possessed possession. However, beneath the obvious implication of Nimmi as Abbaji's mistress lies the veiled suit of Nimmi as an aspiring but jilted actress. Vishal indirectly introduces the infamous link up of all the Bollywood heroines with gangsters in Nimmi Abbaji, Abbaji Mohini, and Nimmi Makbul relationship. We initially do not realize this because we are led to see Makbul's disgust with the Bollywood fraternity. In one of his remarks, he says, "Ghatiya filmein, ghatiya log." He even confuses the sexual orientation of his caustic remark, "Razia fas gayi hai gundon." Okay, so this remark not only denotes his fish out of water situation as an in charge of the film industry, but at the same time, it also points that the industry is not a holier than thou place. The conscious dealings of the denizens of the film world with that of the underworld perhaps loom large on Vishal's psyche while writing such a line. However, he stumps his audience by bringing Nimmi into the scene when Makbul is uttering this statement. Then the statement transfers from the literal to the metaphorical plane as one gradually realizes that Makbul is revealing Nimmi's caged existence. Okay, previously it was Makbul who is Razia and the gang of gundas are the Bollywood people, the filmy people. But later on, as Nimmi comes in and the discussion turns into financing movie, and Kaka in a very serious tone tells Abbaji that you must make a film for Bhabiji this year, and then he offers the choices that kaun chahiye, Karan Johar, Subhash Ghai, Ram Gopal Verma, even Mani Ratnam or apna Mani Ratnam, as he says. As he was saying this, Nimmi goes away, okay, with a defeatist disgust in her eyes, and we see Abbaji looking sternly at Kaka signaling to change the conversation. Now, in one of his interviews, which he gives to A.L. Magis Winburn, entitled Vegetarian Tacos in Paris in May 2014, Bharadwaj has admitted that Nimmi is pictured as an aspiring actress from a small town in Lucknow who was promised, and I quote Bharadwaj, with a launch pad and was lured by this man to sleep with him, so he will make a film for her. He will launch her as a Bollywood actress, which never materialized. Unquote. So this episode harks back to the countless known and unknown affairs in Bollywood and their tales of love, lure, and betrayal. Not surprisingly, therefore, Bharadwaj sums up the hapless condition of all such known and unknown heroines lured away by false promises, as Nimmi was in the statement, Razia fas gayi hai gundon mein. Nimmi is a Razia whose mannate or wishes always remain unfulfilled, and there is no release from her body. Repulsive physical contact with an unimpressive old man nauseates her being, and she looks for a solace in Maqbool. She is intimated, when she is told that there is a heroine waiting for Maqbool, and no sooner she gets a private moment with Maqbool on her way to the dargah, she is restless to know, कौन है वो तुम्हारी हीरोइन? बहुत खूबसूरत है, हमसे भी ज़्यादा. So her insecurity lights up another layer of the nexus. That is the frequent change of heart of the gangster. Okay, we know how colorful Dawood Ibrahim's life was, and here too, Abbaji is shown to shift his attention from Nimmi to Miss Mohini the moment she comes to the Sangeet ceremony. Now, during the Sangeet ceremony, one sees a lusty-looking Abbaji looking at Miss Mohini as she performs a sizzling number. Not only that, he goes outdoor and starts to dance with her in front of Nimmi. Now, this is the final warning bell for her, an alarm that her days in Abbaji's life is numbered. A distraught Nimmi, wearing a yellow garland, conjure up the image of a sacrificial goat who is ready for her qurbani. In a critical moment, she lets her heart out to Maqbool, stating that there is no return for a person like her to normal course of life, and she cannot go back to Lucknow, for she is known to be Jahangir's kept. In fact, as his gaddi, Abbaji went quite ahead in taking Nimmi for granted, reducing her practically to the level of a slave, using her both to satisfy physical and household needs. So it was necessary to remove Abbaji from his gaddi to ensure Abbaji's bistar se azadi. Now this phrase was used in the very first scene of the movie when Nasiruddin character hinted that death is the only way to get relief from a gangster's bed or a gangster's clutch. This imagery of the bed gains tremendous significance in the murder scene as Maqbool shoots a sleeping Abbaji in his comfortable bed. The Kali Zuban, which predicted 6 mahine mein Abbaji ki gaddi miyan ki hai, comes true, and the audience witness gaddi machine or the ascension to the throne of Maqbool. The dethronement of Abbaji is shown as Abbaji dies only after climbing down from his gaddi, his bed, and kneeling down in front of Maqbool in an act of surrender, while Nimmi continues to sit on the bed. He has vacated the bed for Maqbool. Abbaji has vacated the bed for Maqbool and has proved his incapacities to retain his gaddi. Abbaji had once told Maqbool that पूरी कायनात हमारी मुट्ठी पे है, पर इतनी भर की औरत नहीं संभालती हमसे. So the phrase इतनी भर की औरत, which points to the minimalization of the woman's psyche by a gangster, contains elements of counter discourse in extreme conditions. Pushed to the wall, this itti bharki aurat turned the table for a butt. Now, after the takeover, we see Makbul prioritizing Mimi over the empire. He is actually taking care of Abbaji's Gaddi in the true sense of the term while his empire falls apart. He could neither win over Kaka nor Samira, neither he could hunt down Boti or Guddu. In the second half, he is more or less a caretaker of Nimmi. He is unable to respond to business calls and unable to crack his deal. And we see a distraught Makbul seeking the cops to know his fate. He is no less vulnerable than Nimmi, who is shown to be physically deranged. Now, her mental collapse, I think that it is an outcome of being a gaddi, of leading an unfulfilled, commodified life for a long, which she miscalculated would improve with a change of master. On the contrary, as violence piled over violence, her earlier display of valor degenerates into a sort of cognitive imbalance. The final blow comes from Samira, her companion, in an otherwise stifled ambience. She not only pushes her down, onto the ground, but also calls her a witch. Already plagued by Makbul's doubt about the fatherhood of the child, this final renouncement by a childlike Samira was too much for Nimmi to bear. Vishal here is juxtaposing two different, voices of children. One in the womb of Nimmi, and Nimmi is said to be continuously plagued by the wailings of this child, which she hears, and other by the shriek of Samira, who shrieks as a protest when she is not convinced what Makbul is saying. So the physical shriek of Samira corresponds to the psychic breakdown of Nimmi, and she tells Makbul that the unborn child is taking a revenge for killing its father. When Nimmi dies shortly after delivering the baby, questioning whether their love was pure or not, Hamara ishq to pak tha na miyan, as he says, she tries to shuffle off her status as a gaddi. Moments before her death, audience, viewers find the couple on the floor and realize that Nimmi would no longer be anybody's gaddi. Rather, she dies on the godi of Makbul, and this physical death, though a formal end to an almost brain-dead person, is also a closure of Bistar Se Azadi with which the movie began. Makbul's tears are tears of repentance, of doubting Nimmi, his inability to alter her state as a gaddi. There's the first reference to Makbul in Irfan and I, Nimmi's release and her refusal to being a gaddi. It is a pointer to the pathetic condition of heroine, swayed away by the underworld and has got nothing to do with Shakespeare. The second reference to Makbul, and I'm gradually coming to the end of my lecture, is Makbul looking through the hospital window. I don't think it has any connection with Shakespeare either. It must be noted that the film was produced after the terrorist attack 9/11 in 2001 and the religious riot here in 2002, which made Muslim popularity decline rapidly throughout the world. I feel that as a filmmaker, Vishal Bharadwaj was out to address this issue. So apparently, we might feel that this is a Muslim-dominated space where we are in, because we see Abbaji with surma in his eyes, Islamic flag flying high during Ramzan. We hear Nimmi and Makbul offering namaz. We hear Sufi songs. There is a visit to the Sufi shrine. References are made to Qurbanis. We hear Qawwalis, Azan. Also, Nimmi telling Abbaji that Mera sharara lete aiye. So, sharara is a typical Muslim dress. But then gradually, the camera moves wide angle to include Abbaji's Hindu associate Kaka, his son Guddu, corrupt cops Purohit and Pandit, political leaders Bhosle and Palekar, antagonist ACP Devastri, associates like Davre, to cancel the apparent Muslim domination in the underworld. The murder of Kaka in a Hindu temple and constant reference to Hindu gods like Shukra, Sani, Rahu, Ketu further bear out the point. So viewers are posited in a multicultural plane and a picture of a cosmopolitan Mumbai alive and vibrant, nullifying the Muslim domination emerged. Vishal is also, juggling with the linguistically with, in his movie, and I feel that there is the typical Tapori language, Shana, Chikne, and all those things, which is balanced with the refined Urdu, Gilori, Khaya Karo Gulfan, Zuban Kabu mein rehti hai. Then there is a normal Hindi way of saying. So we realize that we are in a polyphonic social space that characterizes the cosmopolitanism of the city. So as a filmmaker, he was under a social compulsion to address the growing hostility towards Muslim community. And the final message that Maqbool gives out is a possibility of altering a tension-ridden social space in a cosmopolitan Mumbai where people of different ethnicities and religions can live and work together. Halfway through the film, we have seen an engagement ceremony of a Muslim Samira and a Hindu Guddu. But the celebration contained undertone of jealousy and hatred, क्योंकि बेटा ना हो तो दामाद ही वारिस होता है. But the growing hatred of this inter-gang animosity that has ruled the movie is nullified at the end. After a change of heart from hatred to thankfulness, we see Maqbool decide not to snatch the child and get involved in another inter-gang fight. So he looks to the hospital window and then recedes back. I feel that he gains an insight into the very fact of human existence, that violence begets violence, and changes his plan to ensure a trouble-free childhood of his child. As someone who has doubted the fatherhood of the child halfway through the movie, Maqbool has come a long way. He has learned the greatest lesson of his life and is asking for an end to the cycle of violence that has plagued Mumbai, and he offers himself to Boti. I don't think Boti killed Maqbool, but it's Maqbool who offered himself to Boti. So as the curtain closes, one recalls the beautiful lines from Tu Mere Rubaru, which speaks of the true essence of existence, that is harmony and peace in a terror-affected land. ये जमीन है मोहब्बत की, यहाँ मना है खता करना, सिर्फ सजदे में झुकना है और आदब से दुआ करना. So Vishal knew that he would be dealing with a sensitive issue at hand. He took the idea from Shakespeare's text, but the story of Maqbool, as I have tried to analyze it in my own way, is, I don't think, is not necessarily verifiable in relation to it. And this brings me back to the quantum leap approach of Charles Marwood. In other words, as Marwood thinks that if a work is intellectually relocated, then the playwright is loosely recognizable and is not felt as a burden on which to rely faithfully. Thus, the movie has hard. The movie can be, judged from this way. The movie could be said to have hardly any resemblance to its progenitor. More so, Maqbool is not only for Shakespearean scholars, but for any viewers who might not have any knowledge of Macbeth, yet could enjoy the mafia masala. Box office success in mind, Vishal refused to cater to a particular class of intelligentsia, for that would have limited the scope at the box office. So I don't think that Vishal Bharadwaj showed any kind of irreverence or reverence to Shakespeare. He was actually true to his time. Thank you very much for listening to me. And here I stop and would like to have comments and suggestions so that I can improve myself. This is just a rudimentary thought that I have been thinking in the last 15-20 days. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an informative and enriching session. Now, may I request Professor Arun Sir, Assistant Professor and Head of the Department of English, Bakura Christian College, to formally conduct the interactive session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shubarna. Thank you, Dr. Antara Mukherjee, Antara Deen, for this wonderfully illuminating and insightful lecture. In fact, when I was listening to your lecture, I was awestruck at the exhaustive research that you have undertaken to frame this lecture. And your lecture has invited quite a number of questions, some
Thank
from
you.
students. So may I read those questions out, Antaradi?
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Okay. So the first question comes from one of our students, Madhurima Ghosh. I think you have already addressed this point in your lecture, but still she wants to know. Ma'am, in a film, Pankaj Kapoor represents Duncan, Irfan Khan Macbeth, and the witch sisters are replaced by the corrupt inspectors. But the bizarre fact is that Tabu, who happened to be the wife of Kapoor, later on married Irfan Khan after Duncan's murder. How can Tabu represent both Mrs. Duncan as well as Lady Macbeth? Does not it badly distort the actual plot of Shakespearean play Macbeth? And won't it pose a problem for especially those who haven't gone through the play, since they would only believe what is shown in the film?
Thank you, Madhurima. Is she a student at the Bakura Christian College?
Yes, second semester.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Madhurima, for listening and for your question. The first thing that I want to tell you is that I am not bothered about Shakespearean convergences and divergences here. But if you are interested, I can email you one of my earlier papers where I have tried to delve with it. As far as your question goes, Vishal Bharadwaj was out to make a movie on the throbbing romance of Maqbool and Nimmi. He therefore refused to make Nimmi or Lady Macbeth married to Macbeth. As he said, and I have heard him speaking, that Lady Macbeth is married to Macbeth in Shakespeare. So, if you are married for a very long time, then how can you have this romantic angle after the murder and so on? So, what I have done is, I have refused to get Lady Macbeth married to Macbeth at all. And the entire concept of Gaddi that I have brought in, I have tried to see, is will tell you a lot that it is not the distortion of the actual plot of Shakespeare's play. Bharadwaj is intellectually relocating it altogether. So the question of distortion, the question of irreverence doesn't occur at all.
Thank you, Antaradi. The next question comes from one of our UG 6th semester students, Shaborika Shingho. Madam, don't you think that the film Maqbool is to some extent free from all kinds of casteism? For example, Guddu was Hindu, where Samira Muslim and Om Puri was addressed Panditji. And my second question is the dialogue Aag ke liye pani ka dar similar to fair is foul and foul is fair by the witches in Macbeth?
Thank you, Shaborika, for this question again. The first, I have addressed both the questions when I was dealing it. Firstly, I did not go into casteism, but I did talk about a multicultural, cosmopolitan social plane that emerged. And do we need to always search for parallel with Shakespeare? If in Shakespeare it was you will be king, 6 महीने में अब्बा जी की गद्दी मियाँ की है, I have tried so that you all can understand that this line could be interpreted without Shakespeare. So, आपके लिए पानी का डर, can you think without fair is foul and foul is fair? Of course, that is repeated. You can always consistent on that the repetitive format. But आपके लिए पानी का डर has a completely different meaning in the movie. and it has got nothing to do with where is Paul and Paulo. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question comes from Hoimonti Shahu. Is there any essence of Oedipus complex between the illicit relationship of Makbul and Nimi, as Nimi is presented in the movie as Abbaji's mistress, and Abbaji is the fatherly figure to not only Makbul, but all the goons under him? Ma'am, can you please share your views on this particular point?
Thank you, Hoimonti. Is she a student as well?
Yes, she is a student.
Okay. Thank you for this question again. This point, Oedipus complex and all, you can analyze and interpret from that angle also. But all I want to say is, Abbaji is actually Abbu, okay? So Abbu and Abbaji. Abbu is given that respect when he is called Abbaji. Now, being a father figure to all the goons does not make Nimmi the mother figure as well. Mistress as mother is a very complicated thing that cannot be generalized like that. And if she is the mother, then she is never the Bhabiji for Makbul. She is Bhabiji for Kaka, but not for Makbul. And we see in the second half of the movie that when Makbul starts living with Nimmi, even Buddu and I start calling Nimmi a slut. So I think this is quite a complicated thing. We should not generalize it like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Antara once again. I feel tempted to share something that my colleague Dr. Narugopal Mukherjee has already put in the chat box. We acknowledge with due regards a number of faculty members who attended this lecture today: Dr. P.B.S. Rao, Dr. Suranjana Bhadra, Dr. Kollan Chatterjee, Dr. Arnab Kumar Sinha, Professor Nivedita Mukherjee, Rohan Hassan, Dr. Jyoti Shankar Mondal, Dr. Devi Prasad Mishra, Dr. Richa Joshi Pandey, Dr. Shoikat Sarkar, and the congratulatory notes that have come from them. So thank you all of you.
Thank you very much for attending. I would like to hear from all of you. They are all erudite scholars and teachers in their own position. So please, if there is any scope for me to add, change, and improve my paper, please let me know. Thank you.
I missed Dr. Sharbani Banerjee. She's also here. Okay.
Yes.
The next question comes from Orijit Sarkar. So beautiful a presentation illustrating the seamless mingling of the Shakespearean plot with the Indian Bollywood backdrop. But how far can even a dogmatic Shakespearean scholar ignore it? I mean, is it not so that the self-styled movie-making manner of Bharadwaj has brought things all the more, highlighting Shakespearean fervor? That's the question.
Thank you, Orijit. Orijit is my former student at Chandanagar College. He happens to be the student from my first batch, and he is himself a teacher right now. Thank you for the question. And Orijit, this is a very perceptive thought which you have put in here. I want to tell you that for us, who are all enamored and we bow down before Shakespeare, Vishal Bharadwaj did not do it. He only realized it when the press meet at Toronto told him and asked many questions regarding Shakespeare. So it is a self-styled movie, of course, but it is up to the Shakespearean scholars to find out Shakespearean echoes and legacy. Others who are not Shakespearean scholars, I don't think they will find things out like we normally do, as I have also done previous. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question comes from one of our PG students, Shonia Chatterjee. It was a very insightful and engaging lecture. Madam, if a movie takes its theme from some literary text, after it is transformed into a film, can it be considered as a liberal art out of its textual influences? That means, can it be liberated as an autonomous art form? That's what she wants to know.
Yes, why not? Why not? Of course, it would be a different and altogether different texts are not. The concept of intertextuality tells us that texts are echoes of text. So of course it could be a separate work of art despite the echo. Thank you, Sonia, for the question.
Thank you, Antara. The next question is from Orko Prabho Banerjee. Swapno Sandhani staged an adaptation of Macbeth in 2012. Was that a reformist approach or quantum leap approach, since Macduff at the end turns evil in that adaptation? So you talked about both these approaches. So that's what he wants to know.
My student, who is currently a teacher at Bishnupur, Orko, from Chandanagar College. Orko, thank you so much for the question. I am yet to see the play that you are mentioning, but all I can say is, and I have not spoken about Bengali adaptations of Shakespeare, because I was talking of this new liberal age and mainstream Bollywood. But all I can say is, in stage, you do get many creative scopes, of course. But whether it is a reformist approach or a quantum leap approach, to answer this question, I'll have to see. I have not seen. So I will see and then let you. Thank you, Orko.
Thank you so much, Dr. Antara Mukherjee. So if there isn't any other question, may I hand over the floor to my student Shubarna again. Shubarna, are you there?
May I say something, Oyon?
Yes, madam. Sure. Dr. Sharbani Banerjee, please, madam.
Yes, Sharbani.
Yes, I don't know whether to thank you or to salute you. The amount of research and depth that you have imparted into an otherwise masala Bollywood film, as you said, really hats off to you, dear.
Thank you,
I have been an enthralled audience throughout, and to answer all the questions aimed at you and also your interpretation. Of course, Bhardwaj always says that he did not have Shakespeare in mind when he wrote this. And yet to remember Tagore had said, Bhab churi to churi nahi. So he definitely was deeply influenced by Shakespeare, because he in fact crafted a trilogy.
Yes, of course.
He captured the universality of Shakespeare's themes of temptation and redressal, and what a fantastic explanation, and combining the reality and the interviews and the research work. Now I am your fan forever. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharbani. Thank you for such kind words. It means a lot. Coming from you, it means a lot.
No, it comes from my heart. Thank you so much.
I know. You're always from your heart. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, madam. Dr. Sharbani Banerjee. Thank you, Dr. Antara Mukherjee, again.
Thank you. I just want to say, and I have said that I'm so proud of you, proud of what you have done. And I'm so happy to see Rohan here, also Orijit, some of my students from...
It's like a reunion on Boston.
Yeah, some of my students from Government Girls Kolkata, they are here. So it's such an honor and privilege for me to meet all of you, though I cannot see all of you, but of course you have heard me, and so I am very happy today, and I'm happy that Bakura Christian College Department of English, which always had a very high standard. I remember going there and presenting. My friend Shoipat was there in the department in 2011 in February. And it was such a great ambience. Sharbani, Shubhajit, Naruda, Anindada, everybody was there. It's always a homecoming from me when I'm there with the Department of English at Bakura Christian College. And one more thing, I know I'm taking time, but I must tell you that the students are doing a wonderful job. Not only they are posing interesting questions every day, not only today, every day. But at the same time, the way they are, cooperating with their teachers, they are co-performing with their teachers, it's remarkable. So a big shout out to all the students who are there, and you are really fortunate to be part of such an illustrious department. Thank you, Aunt.
Thank you, Antaradi. The honor, pleasure, everything is ours. Over to Shubarna now. Shubarna?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Now, I'd like to request Tapos Das, sir, Faculty, Department of English, Bakura Christian College, to formally conduct the vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Am I audible, Suvarna?
Yes, sir, you are.
You are audible.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, Suvarna. Our sincere thanks to respected Dr. Antara Mukherjee, ma'am, for such well-organized, impressive, and third-eye opening lecture. We are grateful enough to you, ma'am, for your academic cooperation despite your hectic schedule and gracing all of us with your amazing lecture that enhanced our appetite for learning further. I, on behalf of all the participants, acknowledge with sincere gratitude and thankfulness some new perspectives in studies and further researches that you have opened up through your engaging and insightful lecture. Thank you very much, ma'am. I firmly acknowledge the participation of a huge number of audience over Google Meet and YouTube Live. We will meet again tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. with two eminent speakers, Dr. Nilanjana Dev ma'am and Dr. Richa Joshi Pandey ma'am. Please join tomorrow at the scheduled time. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
Didi.
Bye.
Thank you all. Let's call it a day today.